Morning, everyone, and thank you for joining us today. I'm Kevin Captain, Interim Director of Community Information for the County of Volusia. As our county, in conjunction with the rest of the state, prepare to the initial steps to reopen, we know that many people are asking what's in store for our economy and our business sector. We're excited to have someone with us today who can answer some of these questions. Before I introduce our guest speaker, I'd like to thank our panelists for being here as part of the discussion. With me today at the Volusia County Operations Center are Helga Van Eckert, our Director of Economic Development. Good morning.
Good morning.
Helga, thank you for being with us. And Heather Sherberg, Executive Vice President of Team Volusia. Good morning, Heather.
Good morning.
Thank you so much both for being here. So we're pleased to be joined remotely today by Dr. Jerry Parrish, the Chief Economist and Director of Research for the Florida Chamber Foundation. Dr. Parrish previously was the Chief Economist and Director of the Center for Competitive Florida at Florida Tax Watch. Prior to that, he served as the Associate Director for the Center for Economic Forecasting and Analysis at Florida State University, and additionally has had many years of experience in the private sector in management roles at international manufacturing companies. In his present role with the Chamber Foundation, Dr. Parrish is responsible for conducting in-depth analyses on the Florida economy and on solutions to help secure Florida's future. And solutions are certainly what we need to know now more than ever to get Florida's economy back on track and growing again. So Dr. Parrish is joining us today from Tallahassee. He's in great demand right now for speaking, and we're very fortunate to have him with us today.
If I can, I'll show a slide. Matter of fact, I think, let me see. Yeah, let's look at, if you'll click to the next slide, it says Florida's 5-day moving average percent positive. Can you see that?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Take a look at that. The overall average over the last couple of months is about 8%. But you can see recently the tests, have gone down to in the 5% range of people testing positive. And the slide after that, if you want to click onto that, that shows your county and every other single county. This is back from April 27th, so it's earlier this week. We're updating this once a week. And so you can see where you guys are compared to some other counties. Now, on that one, I'll warn you a little bit. There's some rural counties that, have some pretty high percentages. It may, I'm not sure how that's happening. It may be because they didn't have a lot of tests, and so they've been really selective about giving out the tests to the sickest people. That could be true. I don't know the answer to that. But while we're looking at slides, why don't I just show you a couple more that talks about the whole path of Florida. If you'll show the next one is a bar chart that says something like daily new COVID-19 cases, and it's a bar chart. That's a bunch of bars straight up and down. Can you guys see that?
Yes, sir.
That's the daily cases that come out, and we track those and we put those out. And then, it's kind of hard to make a pattern out of that. There's a couple of really high days. Those actually happen to be days where there were a ton of tests, like 15,000 tests given that day and reported. The reports from some of the private labs have been coming in lumps. And so we may get a day where it shows we got 6,000 tests and the next day is 15,000. So if you look at the next charts, that same chart with an orange line, that shows the 14-day moving average, and it shows the peak day. And what you can see is the peak for Florida was April the 13th. So we're well beyond this 14-day decline in cases that the White House has asked for. So I think the governor, I think is right on target here. Cases are declining. More and more tests are available. More masks and other things are available. And while we're on the slides, let me just finish off a couple that I sent. Let me show you Volusia County. The next to the last slide in the deck shows where we are today as far as the number of cases. And then you see the daily case rate down there at the bottom in orange. And you can see, looks like the peak day was 44 cases. I think that's what that says. Sometimes those are, big data dumps. Sometimes it's where they've gone into a nursing home or some kind of area and given a whole lot of tests, and you saw a big spike that day. But look at that gray line in the very last slide. That's your 14-day moving average for Volusia County. And it's clear that you've hit a peak and you're now going down. Now, because I would want to investigate, those couple of humps down there, the 40 that are in the 40s, where they came from, when the test was actually done, to see where you are on your 14-day moving average. Because, reporting it on a day, instead of the day the test was given, that's happened a lot. But overall in Florida, we're going down. In Volusia County, we're going down in the number of new cases. That's the key number. We're going to have all that info on the Florida scorecard that we maintain our website, thefloridascorecard.org. And you'll be able to track your county. We'll have that up here very shortly.
Jerry, this is Helga. It's great to see that our curve is going down and we're kind of on the other side of it now. But what parts of the economy do you think are going to recover faster as far as industry goes?
Yeah, that's a good question. I've looked a lot at that, and I've been reading a lot of that. I've seen some really great stories out there of how people have gotten open and what they're doing to still keep their employees safe. And I'll pull a couple of examples here. First of all, retail. I think Home Depot up here in Tallahassee was one of the first ones I saw this. They limit the number of people going in stores, and you can only go in one way and out one way, and there's somebody there counting literally the number of people. I go into Publix and they've got one-way aisles now where you can only go down one way. It keeps your contact down. I like those kind of things. But one of the most clever things I saw was a construction company. There's a lot of different kinds of construction. There's stuff, if you've got a crew of 6 people putting in units in somebody's kitchen, they're right up on each other, and it would be hard to social distance when you're trying to install cabinets and put on countertops and do the plumbing and do all that stuff. But things like road construction, and from what I see out there, those guys are out riding on pieces of equipment and doing stuff. Really not much person-to-person contact. So I believe what you're going to see is parts of industries, that are doing these things. Construction, even home construction and commercial construction. One of the companies I talked to had put on a second and third shift so they can spread out their workers during the day, still get everything done. And they actually had to hire people, to do the second and third shift. So they were actually creating jobs there. So I think parts of industries, I think the actual, hotels and leisure and hospitality part are probably going to be last. I don't think you'll see a lot of conventions and those kind of things. Certainly restaurants will be ahead of hotels because of the phased in reopening. But we have to get to a position where people are comfortable, flying in from other states like they always do. We had 130 million plus visitors over the past year come from other states and other countries. That's when you'll see the return back to normal. But, manufacturing, in a lot of cases, they've spread their workers out, changed their processes, laid out their shop floors differently so they can maintain social distancing. Construction, I talked about. Retail, I talked about. And so it's not going to be every industry on a light switch and going back to work first thing Monday morning. It's going to be parts of them, and then in phases getting into, heading back toward 100% of people going back to work.
Great. This is Heather again. You spoke in a webinar last week about other economic impacts that would be coming up in terms of maybe onshoring or supply chain change. Can you speak to what you foresee in the next 12 to 18 months related to those items?
I'm very excited. One of the things I do, I'm on the board of directors of Florida Makes, and they're the manufacturing extension partnership for the state of Florida. And I've got a manufacturing background, so I really am glad to see this. I will guarantee you a couple of things. One is the state of Florida will not end up in the U.S., I don't think, will end up in this position to where we're dependent on a foreign government for masks and for personal protective apparel, drugs, those kind of things. There's going to be a massive effort to reshore our supply chain because of this disruption. And I think it would be a great thing for the state of Florida. You know, we've been pushing for more manufacturing at the Florida Chamber Foundation for a long time. You know, in our trade and logistics report, we showed where basically half the containers, ships, trains, and trucks are leaving Florida empty. They're bringing in goods. They're leaving Florida empty. It leaves us in a position to where we have to pay more for inbound freight because, you know, getting backhauls out is more difficult, and there's only a 50% probability in a lot of cases of getting a backhaul out. If we would balance that trade with Florida-made goods manufactured here that can fill up those containers, we'd get discounts on inbound freight. We'd be more competitive. Florida consumers would have more money in their pockets, and businesses would have less costs. And I really believe this is our opportunity to reshore a lot of this stuff. Every state in the country is going to be trying to do the same thing. But Florida's got a great manufacturing base already. There's a lot, people don't understand how much manufacturing is going on. I've been to manufacturers in Volusia. I've been into manufacturers all over this state. There's some really innovative stuff going on, and those are good jobs. They pay well. They diversify Florida's economy. And I think the first thing we need to do is put a renewed interest and big effort on recruiting and expanding more manufacturing here in the state of Florida, and not just for protective apparel and drugs, but those are the first two I think that you'll see some action on.
We are here to honor the retirement of Yankee, our beloved explosive dog that we've had here for 10 years with Senior Deputy Joe Durney here. They're both just part of the airport family here, and we're gonna miss Yankee.
A connector taxiway. We had to select a name for it, and it was going to be at the end of the alphabet, and it was decided to go with Yankee, based on our Yankee.
You guys do a great job for the past 10 years. We appreciate all your hard work and dedication to the Daytona Beach International Airport. On behalf of Sheriff Mike Chitwood and Rick Carl from the airport and all the administrative staff here at the airport, we just want to dedicate this token of our appreciation to you and Yankee.
We've got a little treat for Yankee.
A pup cake.
A pup cake.
What's it going to be like in retirement with him?
It's going to be a transition, that's for certain. I mean, all I've known was Yankee and I for 10 years, and now it's now Yankees at home. And now I have the new dog that I'm training up, and he's doing great. But I told the new guys that he has some big paws to fill. This guy's done it all, been there, done that, and I couldn't have asked for a better guy. Every day has just been a fun day with him. I don't remember having a bad day with him at work. Even when you're having stuff going on in your personal life or things going on at work, when you look at the dog and you realize it's you and him, and you guys are the team. That's all that matters.
They said I couldn't dream. Called me a piece of trash and swore that's all I'd ever be. Said a bottle couldn't see the ocean. Give up. Go back to the dumpster. But I didn't listen. I made my way. And now, I've always wanted to be.
Every day, Florida's courageous first responders work together to keep Florida safe during all types of hazards, including wildfires near homes and communities. Florida's first responders are asking for your help to increase safety and accessibility during wildfires with 3 easy steps. Create a clean, fire-resistant space around the home. Make a family evacuation plan and evacuate early when wildfire is near. For more, visit floridaforestservice.com or wildlandfirersg.org.
I think we have a question on Facebook. We'll turn it over to Helga.
Yes, actually, this is from Melissa on Facebook. She asks, what assistance is available through Volusia County for small businesses? Are there any local grants that are out there? And, you know, this is a topic of a conversation that we've had for weeks between the county council is so supportive of the small businesses and wants to be sure that we take care of them, and our stakeholders as well. Heather has been on a number of calls with me trying to come up with programs that will assist our local businesses. And just last week, we announced that we will be doing a small business grant that is making its way through processing now. We're putting the parameters in place. We expect that it'll be before the council in final format soon. And it will actually be a grant that assists our businesses. And Jerry, this goes to what you were saying about the changes that are being done to accommodate the new norm, so to speak. You know, many of our businesses have had to shut down because they weren't considered essential, and as a result have been suffering. And now, in order to open their doors, they need to put special things in place to make sure that their employees are safe and that their patrons are safe, and that comes at another expense. I mean, some of those issues are addressed with common sense, like you said, changing shifts, switching tables, but others are going to require an expenditure. So the concept of this grant that we're looking at is to actually provide the financial resources to make those physical changes. Are you seeing stuff like that throughout the state?
Are you asking me?
Yes.
Yeah. Sorry. Yes. You know, that's something that that a lot of communities are looking at, and I believe that's the thing. Now's the time for communities to get together with their chambers, their county commissions, their economic development agencies, and businesses are not all alike. They need help in a lot of cases to figure out what they can do. If there's help available, there's certainly been a lot of the bridge loans and the small business loans and programs stood up around the state. I think this is the most important thing we can do right now, to help people get back to work, to help them understand what they can do. Because these, there's not any restrictive, 10,000 different things that you have to follow in the governor's order. It's basically a lot of common sense that people that are familiar with business and people that help businesses, like chambers and economic development agencies, can help them one-on-one understand what they need, show them where there's help in case the business needs it. Because, like I said, not every business is the same, and I think the greatest thing that the local chambers and economic developers can do is share the best practices. I've seen some cool stuff, like, when I saw Publix turning aisles into one way. I would have never thought about that in my life. And we've got a lot of stores that can use the same thing. So sharing those best practices through webinars like this, through chamber meetings, through economic development agency meetings, I think that's going to help all these businesses get back to business quicker. And that's exactly what we need right now.
Well, Jerry, I have maybe a tough question for you. Before we entered all of this pandemic, we were experiencing really, really low unemployment levels as a nation and as a state as well. How long do you think it will take us to recover to some of those more maybe not ever to the point that we were, but to a more normalized level of unemployment?
You know, that is a tough question, but it's a really good question, and it's one that I've been struggling with, trying to figure out. You know, when you look at what the economists are saying out there, you know, we could have a -1% to a -11%, GDP crunch this year on an annual basis. So it's really hard to predict. Let me put out a couple of key posts that will tell you when this thing will be over. First of all, we got to remember we're subject to this virus, you know, and the shock of it, the suddenness of this. You know, there wasn't even one case 60. We're coming up on the 60th day, I think now, in the state of Florida. So when it comes back to going back to work, a couple things have to happen. One is what I talked about. There has to be a treatment that people feel confident. And we've seen in the news, there may be some out there now. We're going to get a lot of more info about the drug trials. I believe within a couple of months, we're going to have a pretty widely available treatment to where then, you know, people that are reasonably healthy can make that decision. You know, I'll go on that. You know, I'll go to that place. I'll take my risk of getting sick, understanding that the disease won't go away until we get a vaccine and it's widely available. But I think technology is going to be our friend here. You've probably all seen the 5-minute COVID test. We know there's a very good, reliable 45-minute test, and now the 5-minute tests are coming out, and then we're going to have the antibody test after that. I believe that people, in a lot of cases, because I've talked to a lot of people, would you do this? I asked this very specific question. You know, would you take your family on a cruise if you could stand in line, take a 5-minute COVID-19 test, and if you pass, you can get on the boat and you'll know every passenger on that cruise ship has had the same test and they tested negative? And, you know, most people that are under 70 years old, you know, say, yeah, you know, I think I would do that. So I think technology is going to help move it sooner rather than later. I do believe, though, until we have a widely accepted vaccine that's widely available, that we won't be back to where we were. But I do believe that we're going to be back to 80 and 90%, and maybe even more by the end of this calendar year. You know, I believe that, we're going to see people going back to normal, with social distancing and wearing masks and those kind of things. You know, one of the things I think about too, and I'm an economist, so you'll have to forgive me about this. You know, I wonder about how many fewer deaths from the, standard influenza that we're having now because people are washing their hands and they're social distancing and all that stuff. You know, I believe certainly that's a positive thing. I also believe that driving to work is one of the most dangerous things you can do. And if you can stay at home and work like a lot of us can, I believe, there's, I've heard the screams from the body shop people, there are no accidents going on right now because nobody's out on the road. So, we got to take into account the totality of this. And so, I really believe in most industries, we're going to be back to growing by the third quarter this year, some pretty strong growth by the fourth quarter. Not every single job coming back, by then, but I think the majority will be back.
Yeah, I have to agree with you. I think that we are going to see a lot of the jobs come back. I think what we're going to see different, though, is how those jobs are done and where they're done and the precautions that are taken around it. So while we'll go back to normal, it's kind of more the abnormal that we're going to go back to. But I think it's a good thing. I think you're right.
Yeah.
Well, there's positivity ahead. So as we recover, that's good to think about the positives. So that's all we have time for today. Once again, we immense thank you to Dr. Jerry Parrish and our panelists today. That was some really good information. And as we move into the recovery phases, by working together, we can pave a path to a positive future. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in. Take care and stay safe.
Stay Stay connected with the latest Volusia County news, events, and updates on our social media channels. Like and follow us on Facebook and Twitter. Catch up with previous stories on YouTube, or just head over to our website, volusia.org.